recently South Africa found itself on the receiving end of sanctions by the United States over treatment of white farmers. And yeah, I've actually been following this bloke for a long time. Handle is SerpentZA, and along with Sea Milk, otherwise known as Lawai86, they had, for a long time, when they were living in China, they would hop on their motorbikes and just ride along the Chinese countryside and have these conversations over their intercom, record first-person POV cams of all of their riding, and also have the audio of their conversations. And it made for really interesting content for a long time. This, I think, was even pre-COVID. They came back to the United States around 2019 or 2020, shortly before the pandemic broke out and the whole world went mad. But SerpentZA is South African. He grew up in post-apartheid South Africa. So, as a fairly unique perspective, boots on the ground perspective, I always like to get. Worth listening to.
Before you go to bed, make sure you lock your gate.
Closed gate. An ambitious enough criminal was not going to let that stop them.
Arm the alarm. Lock your doors. And most importantly, lock the security gate between the living room and your bedroom.
Yeah, those are thing chat. I saw the pictures someone else posted up on Twitter. Apparently, South Africans, to keep themselves perfectly safe, or as close to it as they can get, have started putting prison bar doors to separate the living area with the bedrooms. That's what it's come to in South Africa. Oh, and the Crims apparently have guns. Lovely. I think this is supposed to be a country with strict gun control, not that that's ever stopped anyone.
That's what saved the life of this couple who was about to be murdered and horribly tortured and who knows what else in their own beds. This is the reality of South Africa. It's a mess. And you know what? South Africa's in the news because it looks like people are finally taking this very big problem that South Africa faces seriously. And of course, I'm talking about the problem of race-targeted violent attacks and ethnic cleansing.
If one of us will kill 5 white people, we'll kill the children, we'll kill the women, we'll kill anything.
But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness. It can't.
Shoot to kill. Hamaza. Kill the poor. The farmer. Kill the poor. The farmer. Brrr.
This is their leadership in South Africa now. This is who's in charge. This is also why the country is falling apart. The infrastructure is crumbling. The crime is through the roof. And the only people who are truly contributing to the economy are the white farmers. And they are being persecuted. And many of them are being murdered. Banning guns does nothing. People using the gun for bad things, they get them illegally anyway. Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly how those Crims that we saw earlier got those guns. Certainly not through any legal means.
Pa! Pa! Brrr! Pa! Pa!
Now this is going to be an interesting video to talk about because this is such a landmine of a topic and something that's very divisive. And
we're not afraid of landmine topics, chat. Not here. If the experience of the past few months has taught me anything, if it is that much of a hot potato, it needs to be discussed. It needs to be aired out in the open. Let the disinfecting light of truth shine on it. I think for so long, so many bad things have been allowed to fester in this world. Because so many people have either been forbidden from talking about these things, or they've just needed time to find their courage. And for many, that courage is still lacking. We need to talk about these things. We need to have these conversations. Some people's feelings may be hurt. They'll live. There was a gun crime in the UK the day before Valentine's Day, too. In Lent, I think outside a pub. Feel so bad for the lady and her family. Bad people stop at nothing to get their hands on weapons. Such an awful world we live in. The UK is supposed to have strict gun laws. Over in Kent, I see. I think I heard about that, yeah. Supposed to, but again, if somebody really wants to get their hands on something like that, they will. And it doesn't matter if it's guns or knives or any other sort of weaponry, even just a simple blunt instrument of some kind. A stick that you find in a field somewhere.
Best way for me to start to talk about this topic is to show you something.
Cool car, bro.
What you're seeing here is a flag that I took around with me when I did my first road trip through America back in 2016. The signatures of people that I met along the way, and the kind words of welcome and encouragement and love that I received from all walks of life around America.
Oh, those are cool. Those posters, especially that Schwarzenegger poster. Let's look at that again.
Of welcome and encouragement and love that
Nice
I received
G-Shock, man.
from all.
Yeah, that looks cool. I like that. Sort of stylized Terminator picture. That's awesome. Actually watched the original Terminator movie a few weeks back with some friends. Been a while since I had seen it. That was fun. Like that too. Welcome in, Jixie. The machetes, yeah. How are you doing?
Walks of life around America. This flag is proof that America works. This flag is proof that America is filled with people of compassion and love and understanding. Good people, kind people, generous people.
Not just America. You travel through England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, various European countries. You will find good people. People who, if you are in trouble, they will lend a helping hand. It's a collective humanity that unites us and binds us together, despite differences. I decided to come inside after I got soaked outside and start writing. Got half a chapter done today. Well done. Hands are for helping, not hurting. Exactly. Back from the ads. Thanks for sitting through and supporting. Yes, thank you all.
And that's something that I will never forget, because the people here is what make this country great.
He's not
I
wrong.
can't say the same for South Africa.
Can say the same as somebody who... I joke I live in exile in America, but frankly, given everything that we've seen developing out of Europe and out of the United Kingdom, I can't help but think how fortunate I feel to be living here in the US and to be enjoying I think a greater measure of safety and even relative freedom than what I would have anywhere else. I know for some years an old blighty and across the European continent that may sound a bit inappropriately jingoistic of me, but I mean, it's just how I feel. UK just keeps going downhill for us lately, and I sound like a broken record when I say this. The decline that we see, the managed decline in the UK, in the European Union, and in so many other countries around the world, it's a choice. It is a choice. And there is an alternative. You can choose the opposite of managed decline. You can choose growth and prosperity, safety and security for the people. You can choose better, is my point. This truly is the greatest country in the world, but that's not hard to be in this day and age, given how far the bar has been lowered. Don't feel like there's a choice to live anywhere else. I mean, there are choices, and there are places where you can both survive and even thrive. I don't know if I necessarily subscribe to the old Reaganite notion of America being the last best hope for the world, but they certainly are an influential beacon in many ways. I mean, that's undeniable. But there's always going to be certain pockets of resistance. And there will always be contingencies and alternatives. It's just a matter of finding them. I hate to say it, but the decline has been going on for a long time. Just the effects are now starting to be majorly noticeable. Yes, and a lot of people aren't happy about that. But the decline is still reversible. We can still choose to go in another direction. We can still choose to forge a better path. It starts with the will to do so, and with effective leaders who are willing to make that choice, and with people in their daily lives choosing to make that decision. Committing to being persons of excellence in their daily lives. It can have more of an impact than you think. Because Lord knows we cannot be dependent upon governments to do things that the people must shoulder the burden on themselves. If governments of the world are too inept and too incompetent and too corrupt to do it themselves, then we must take it into our own hands to peacefully improve our lot in life. I'm not talking about violent revolution. I'm not talking about, an overthrow of existing governments. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm just talking about an active, conscious commitment to be good, decent people and to live lives of excellence in spite of all circumstances. I think that can have a positive impact on the world more so than we give it credit for. In the UK, people of Parliament are all as clueless as the next. They need someone who's lived amongst the regular people. Yeah, I think it quite sad that so many of them, particularly in the ruling Labour government, have never held a job in the private sector in their entire lives. I think it's even more maddening that they have allowed people to achieve positions of influence, to get to positions of influence, that have lied on their CV. I'm like, nobody bothered to check any of this out or verify any of this. That's insanity. And we talked about this on VC a few months ago. I personally think that the end of the world as we know it, either a personal or more collective sense, is not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, because, as said in the Stanley Parable, the end is never the end. Casually waiting for France's next revolution, they tend to be quite dramatic about it, lol. Yes, I suppose so. Oh, I've got a tweet about that. Rather interesting one. I should switch over to, let's see, where was it? Oh, two interesting little bits of info out of France. Since we're on that topic here, real quick, and then we'll get back to the video. Bombshell poll showing Marine Le Pen would win the next presidential election by 18%. France wants the country back. So there's some encouraging news. But over on the science front, I haven't seen any articles about this, but this is interesting. France has just sustained a fusion reaction for more than 22 minutes, breaking China's record from a few weeks ago of 18 minutes. The CEA's West machine was able to maintain a plasma for 1,337 seconds. There's a revolution happening right now. This breakthrough is massive and the world needs to know. We're on the brink of nearly free, limitless energy, the very foundation that drives technological and scientific advancement. This leap forward demonstrates how our knowledge of plasmas and technological control of them over longer periods is becoming more mature. So even in the midst of darkness, there are still some points of light that we can turn to. There is still hope. And they all talk about helping the British public, yet all they're doing is helping themselves. They've stopped the warm home discount for many of my in-need elderly neighbours. Gosh. Oh, yes. I do remember a lot of talk about that. Yeah. A lot of people desperately in need of help to keep their homes heated in a bitterly cold winter have just been left out of the cold, literally. Yeah, looking forward to new fusion breakthroughs that seem to be actually happening these days. It's incredible. It's one of those things, it's like Lenin once said, that there are decades in which weeks happen, and then there are weeks in which decades happen. But as one other person once put it, history tends to move in fits and starts. Or even put another way, as Dickens once wrote in A Tale of Two Cities, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom and it was the age of foolishness. Even though our homes are built to keep heat in, it's sadly not enough, especially with how much colder UK weather is getting. Yeah, just never seems like it's enough. And it's sad.
Africa, however. South Africa sucks. It's a shithole. And I'm being completely serious here. South Africa is a nation divided into tribes, and a nation that has been circling the toilet bowl for a very long time. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to hold back. I have every right to criticize South Africa the way I do because I am a white South African. I grew up in South Africa, born in Cape Town, moved to Johannesburg when I was about 10, and I moved to China when I was 25. So that's when I left South Africa at the age of 25 years old, and I will never ever go back. But what about all this
Who can blame
brouhaha
him?
in the news now that President Trump has signed something wanting to give refugee status to the Afrikaans ethnic minority in South Africa? Well, we're going to talk about this heavy topic, but first, a data broker wrap. Deep within the corporate offices of a data broker, something is happening
We'll keep the ad.
behind closed doors.
He's actually good at
You
coming
think
up
you
with
have
decent ads.
secrets? You silly naive thralls. We sold them all to scammers. Get ready for some calls. Your mailbox will be bursting. And we're the reason why. You cannot escape us. We're data broken bros. When you browse the internet, when you click on accept a cookie,
Okay, that was pretty
when you
good.
sign up for some
That
or
was
other
good.
service in a shop, your data gets sold to data brokers, and data brokers then sell it to other people. But there is a way to get your name and personal information removed off of these lists, and that is in
This is what they mean when they say if it's free, you're the product. More specifically, your data.
Cogni. You see, they do the fancy footwork and all the hard work for you.
Sorry for the
There are
flashbang chat.
thousands of data brokers out there. And for you to go after each one and legally request for your name to be removed would be incredibly time-consuming and costly. But Incognito...
Wait, well, why is he wearing track pants? Drawstring trousers with a dress shirt and a blazer. That man, these people who make stock footage like this, they must really have like zero budget for these sorts of things. Anyway,
does it for you. You give them
man is no
permission,
class,
and then they
yeah.
will, on your behalf, send
yeah,
legal...
don't do that, Chad. Don't wear track pants with a dress shirt and a blazer. Don't do that. That is a major faux pas.
letters to all of these different data brokers to get your personal data removed. If you're tired of junk mail and you want to get rid of all these targeted adverts and take your privacy back, go to incogni.com/Winston and use the code Winston to get 60% off. Protect your privacy today. Go to incogni.com/Winston and use the code Winston to take your personal data off the market. And now back to the show. So,
Okay,
let's
worth
see.
it.
Who are the Afrikaners? Who are these people that are supposedly being given a refugee opportunity in America? Well, the Afrikaans people are...
I'm going to dress like a federal engineer being dragged to a client meeting. That's almost what that looked like. Seems like something a young person nowadays would wear, unfortunately, Lux, yes.
basically the descendants of Dutch settlers. Think of your Oregon Trail in America. Think of your pioneers with their ox wagons. It's exactly the same thing. Same idea. They also had
Waar is de Biltong?
ox wagons. They went through the African bush. They gave the middle finger to the British, just like you Americans did. And turns out they're incredibly good farmers because, you know, they had to survive and figure out the land and all that along the way. And guess what? They became incredibly good farmers. They are Afrikaans speaking.
They got
I'm
good.
I'm not an Afrikaner. I do have Afrikaans people on my father's side of the family. I can speak.
His thought process was, I've got pants on, that's what matters. Yeah, they're lucky he wore pants today. Probably be running around in his skivvies or just starkies.
Afrikaans because we had to learn it in school, but I'm not what I affectionately call a Dutchman. I am a Soti, or Sootpeel, as they call us, which means a salt dick. That's what they call British South Africans like myself.
Oh.
Got 1 foot in South Africa, 1 foot in England with your dungus hanging in the sea. Hence the salt dick name. And I'm being completely serious. The
Of course
Afrikaans,
it turned into a dick
specifically,
joke.
Farmers, the boere, as they call it, boer just means farmer.
Kill your master. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer.
Have been targeted for murder, been targeted for horrendous crimes for decades now. And by every stretch of the definition of genocide, that is what they're going through and have been going through. There are horrendous stories. I'm not going to get into it because if I even try to describe some of the absolutely disgusting things that have been done to these farmers, you know, in front of their families and to their families and so on, this video would get removed from YouTube. I mean, being a white South African, growing up in South Africa, I myself was targeted for crime. My family was targeted for crime. We had home invasions. My mother was molested while these guys broke into, tried to kidnap her, and they put her in the trunk of a car and all this other stuff. I've made videos about this stuff in the past. You know, I've been shot at. I've been attacked. I've had lots of bad things happen. My sister's been...
He's seen some shit. He's been through some shit. So, those people who want to deny that this sort of thing is going on, we've got living witnesses to the whole thing.
Been hijacked at gunpoint. You know, like every member of my family, every friend that I have who's white in South Africa, well, I should be fair and say black too, have experienced crime. But there is a big difference, because although everybody in South Africa, and I mean everybody, is a target of crime, and I've mentioned this before in my videos, you get something called a tsotsi, and a tsotsi is a criminal, like a disgusting, vicious criminal. They will attack anyone, regardless of their race or background. Doesn't matter what color they are, doesn't matter who they are. They
Put him in a chokehold and rifle through his pockets. This shit happens in Detroit and Chicago. There's no reason why it wouldn't happen in another country. Quite right. Detroit, Chicago, certain parts of Miami, even New York City, certainly in a lot of major cities in California. And for a long time, this and a whole lot worse was going on in places like Colombia, Argentina, El Salvador. It's a sort of thing that happens because it is allowed to happen, because the politicians, and to a certain extent the people, just decide they're not serious about being a country.
Rob you, rape you, murder you, torture you, no matter what. Okay, but there's one big difference. And the big difference is you do not get politicians going up on stage or in parliament calling for the slaughter of white people, the slitting of their throats, the murdering of their pets, the killing of their children. You don't get that against any other group in South Africa. There's no politician going up there and saying, you know, shoot the Xhosas or the Zulus, or shoot the Indians, or slit the throats of Indianness, or whatever nonsense you can come up with.
No, because the ruling class is sympathetic to those groups. They don't give a shit about the white farmers.
There is absolutely only one group who is targeted by politicians and who are discriminated against heavily in the media and by the government, and those are white people.
I will be happy to move. That will be nice. An Afrikaner blood. I want the blood of an Afrikaner. Bring the blood of an Afrikaner. I want it. We want
I know it's so difficult to talk about this kind of thing because in the world we live in today...
And it shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. What's happening to white South Africans is wrong, and especially to white South African farmers. Again, one of the few truly productive classes in South Africa, and they are being persecuted, having acts of violence committed against them, having property stolen and seized from them, and in many cases they are being killed. It should never be about someone's race or ethnicity, but it should be about the crimes committed that should be addressed and fixed. No human deserves this treatment. Yeah. But unfortunately, because it happens to be white South Africans, it just doesn't get as much press coverage. For the longest time, people could not care less in outlets of the so-called mainstream media. In a truly, properly race-blind society, a properly egalitarian society, this would be given the attention it deserves. But unfortunately, we don't live in that sort of world. What people don't understand about South Africa is after the whites are either killed or driven out, the smaller ethnic groups are going to get it next. It's going to happen probably in our lifetimes. Yes. We've seen it with Zimbabwe. After they're done hunting and persecuting one group, they'll just turn the guns on the next one. The fighting will continue, and the nation will be reduced to a rubble pile. And it will be all about who gets to rule over the rubble pile.
The idea that a white European is first of all a minority, and second of all, an ethnic minority that is targeted based on their race for discrimination and crime and murder and all this, it's difficult for people to swallow.
One of us to kill how many whites? We kill the children, we kill the women, we kill their dogs, we kill their cats, we kill anything that comes.
And the idea that a white European ethnic minority could claim refugee status is just so unpalatable for mainstream media and so unpalatable for most sensibilities around the world that they've been ignored for decades.
And yet, ironically enough, they didn't seem to have any issue with taking in Ukrainian refugees. Almost all of them exclusively white.
Now, I'm not Afrikaans, so this refugee thing doesn't pertain to me. I believe that the Afrikaners deserve to be able to apply for refugee status. And I've seen some horrible people who are trying their best to prevent this because they don't see how a white person should be given the opportunity to apply for refugee status.
It just, those who are against that sort of thing, it just shows a sort of anti-white hatred that they hide in their heart. This is just the mask slipping off and people showing their true colors. It is a hatred of white people and the white race. That's why they want to prevent white South African refugees, the Boers, the farmers, from applying for refugee status and leaving the country. Gives money, the others don't, simple as, yeah. But also a convenient target for the people in power in South Africa. Hello, Lord Rexworth. Hello, Action Bastard. How are you?
Where, and rightly so, everybody in South Africa is targeted. But what they do not mention is the fact that no other ethnic group in South Africa has people standing up on stage calling for their slaughter and their murder. This is how genocides happen. When you've got political forces and when you've got big groups of people calling for the murder of a certain group. When you've got very powerful and influential politicians making their followers believe that all the problems in the world, all of their problems are due to insert your ethnic group here. It always ends up badly. When you start blaming, especially a small minority, when you start blaming that tiny minority in a country where the majority of people are being riled up and told that they are the people you've got to target. You get rid of them, you get rid of your problems. You know what's going to happen, and it has been happening. You can look up what Plaasmoord is all about, the farm murders, and you will see. You will see just how horrific it is. And of course, I've been very disappointed to see the pushback against this thing by the American government. I've seen this pushback where you've got articles that are so written in such poor taste, with such inflammatory language as to try and blame and celebrate the fact that Afrikaners are being attacked, or that white South Africans are being targeted for crime. And I have my...
It's the usual 4-step program with a lot of these people of step 1, it's not happening. Step 2, well, it may be happening, but it's rare. Step 3, this is happening, and it's a good thing. And then step 4, you're a bad person if you don't support this happening all the time. It's that age-old playbook. Doing pretty good. Surprised to see you're not playing Majima's Pirate Adventure today. Alright, chat. I see there's a lot of you in here, and I thank you all for sticking with me. So I'm going to put the question to all of you. I'll give you 2 minutes. I never learned to read questions. Well, you want to read this one. Should I play Pirate Yakuza? Yes or no? Your call. Another African country could utterly wreck South Africa by just granting them refugee status there, especially a nearby rival. They could. I don't think the will exists politically for any other African countries to do that. Probably not, no. Yeah. But at least 2 powers in the world. Also, I don't know what to pick. Well, it's a simple yes or no question. If I remember right, there's constant civil wars there. Wouldn't take much for the focused force to take over the country. Mind you, focused. Yeah, it's possible, but I think we would just end up with the situation in South Africa with that they had to endure for many decades. At this point, I think present sentiments are, it's not our country, it's not our problem, but if there are productive individuals from that country that wish to come over and be productive and contribute to the economy, let them do so. And these are people who are provably net contributors to the South African economy. I should love to see Boer farmers go over to European countries or the United States and be able to take what would be rather lands just written off, thought as completely inhospitable to any sort of farming, anything at all, and turning it into an oasis in a desert, proverbially speaking. I think they would have an excellent go at it, considering that their skills were trained and honed under much harsher conditions. And I think they would be a tremendous blessing to whatever they ended up in, whatever country they ended up in. Do have to hop up now, grab some sleep. Can't wait to play some more It Takes Two with you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your stream. All right, Nozomi. Yes, chat, look forward to that tomorrow. We'll get started around 2, 3 p.m. Eastern. Continuing on with It Takes Two. Add time for me. Yes, definitely get some good sleeps. All right, so poll results came in a resounding yes. So I guess after this, after we get done with our gourmet video section, we will, we're loading up Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Which, hey, I don't mind changing plans, especially if that is what the audience would like. I am here to serve.
Entire life noticed that there are certain people, and it's not a small minority of people, but there are a lot of people that celebrate these vicious attacks against white South Africans because they believe that they deserve it. They believe
they don't deserve it.
Somehow white people in South Africa deserve to be murdered and raped and tortured. And
nobody deserves that. No human being on the planet deserves that. This is an absolutely demonic way of thinking. No human being on the planet deserves that fate. No matter how much you may dislike them or disagree with them, if you think a certain segment of the population deserves that fate, I don't know, I think you've got bigger problems to worry about.
Have all of their property that they've worked their entire lives for stolen and taken away simply because of some perceived thing in the past, whether it be apartheid or whether it be colonialism or whatever the case. Somehow they justified and celebrate this.
That's no justification. Yes, colonialism happened. Yes, apartheid happened. It's all over now. Get the fuck over it. Move on. Meanwhile, you've got pundits and politicians here that think that what's happening in South Africa is just fake news. Yeah. They'll deny it at first. Then they'll say, well, it's happening, but it's not all that frequent, not that big of a deal. Then they'll say, it's happening and it's a good thing. And then they'll say, you're a bad person if you don't support it happening. It is that same old playbook they trot out every time. Thankfully, I think more people are getting wise to these tactics, and they're not falling for it like they used to. They're starting to recognize this is happening, it's wrong, and it needs to stop. And ultimately, that is the only acceptable human response to all of this.
These atrocities. And I'm not going to stand for it because having grown up in South Africa during the dismantling of apartheid, growing up being told to be tolerant and be compassionate and to accept and embrace this idea of a rainbow nation and see what a facade and what bullshit it really is. I'm not going to stand by when people celebrate the murder, the ethnic cleansing of a minority group of who I happen to be a part of. I'm not going to stand by while people unfairly and unjustly try to prevent these people who genuinely need refugee status from getting it. I'm going to support them. And so, again, I'm not a Dutchman, I'm not Afrikaans, but I support this refugee status thing. I think it's a step in the right direction. And I would be saying exactly the same for the Zulus. If they were being ethnically targeted by the Xhosas, and you had a Xhosa politician going up there and saying, we must slit the throats of the Zulus and we must kill their children and pets and shoot the Zulus, shoot to kill, or whatever the case, I'd advocate for them to get refugee status. See where I'm going here? So I just wanted to cut through the BS here. I support this. I think the whole world should support this. No small minority ethnic group should ever be targeted for ethnic cleansing. And I just wanted to say thank you to America for affording this opportunity to my South African Afrikaans brothers and sisters. And I wish them all the best of luck. People that were born in America, people who grew up in America, don't understand how lucky they are.
Thank you for the lurkies, Hina.
I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but it is the most tolerant, the least racist country in the entire world. And I can hear the screaming out there. I know all you people out there are going to get in the comments and try to tell me that I'm wrong, but you know what? Screw you, because I'm not wrong. I grew up in Africa. I lived in China. I know the developing world. I know what true racism is. I've experienced it myself. I've seen it. I've seen how bad it is. And America is not that. America has its problems, sure, but it's also a fantastic place, and it's the only place where I've been welcomed with open arms by people of all ethnicities and all standings in society. It is the one country that I will fight tooth and nail to protect. I just wanted to say thank you.
Yes, because there's still something that's worth fighting for here. Colonization ended half a century ago. Sick of hearing about it. So am I. And really, when you think about it, the only people that are still banging on about it, about colonization, long after it was over, are the people that are jealous and envious of others and want what they have. Or to be more precise, want to take from other people what they have, rather than earn it themselves.
For hearing me out on this, and you may not.
They may call it equity, but we know better. It is theft, pure and simple. They've had at least 50 years, if not more, to get their shit together. If they still can't, that's a you issue, precisely. Same, and yet with the whole Greenland and Gulf of America thing, bunch of dopes yelling about more imperialism. In a way, they're falling for a trap. But also, in a way, they are being exposed because ultimately that's all they have. There's a bunch of empty rhetoric about more imperialism.
I'd agree with me, and that's totally fine, because that's what life's all about. We've got to be able to agree to disagree. We all have different experiences growing up. We all have our demons we have to face. And
Indeed.
We should try to face them together and help each other out, no matter where you're from. Anyway, stay awesome.
Bravo. Very well
Please join
said,
me
Winston.
for my secret show that I do with my friend Lawa86 on Mondays. It's called Shaban Ho After Hours. Links are in the description. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes, I do.
Is that like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something? Yes,
too.
I do.
Sorry, baby. That is the shittiest ad I've ever seen.
Okay, that sounds like a fun show. That sounds like a really fun show. I love that. They've gotten really good. Their first few podcasts and shows that they were doing originally, they were a bit rough around the edges, but they've gotten really good at what they do. That is quite fun to listen to and poke fun at the at the crazy commercials that you see in other countries. And especially, it gives you an insight into their views of how they see foreigners. It's interesting. thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you never miss an update. If you have any thoughts, questions, or ideas for future videos, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. You can also follow me on Twitter @LordRexworth for more updates and behind-the-scenes content. And if you want to support the channel, check out my Coffee or Throne pages. Links are in the description. Finally, be sure to visit lordrexworth.com and follow me across all platforms. That's lordrexworth.com. Until next time, I wish you all the best, and God bless.